Very warm welcome to all of you. I know that we have about 150 attendees who have registered from all over the world. And it is exciting to have people from all across the world participating in a conference like this, especially at this time. And a reminder again to those of you who just joined that we are recording this session, and a couple of bookkeeping announcements. One is that if you want to ask a question, we would love these sessions to be interactive. If you want to ask a question, please put your question in chat. If you want everyone to see your questions, and if you want to ask the questions in private, please put it in the Q&A session. Only the panelists will be able to see those questions. And as the moderators, my colleague Amulya Yadav, who will speak to you shortly, or I will announce those questions to the speakers and have them answer the questions. So from time to time, we will monitor the chat and the Q&A sections and have your questions read aloud to the participants. In some cases, we might try to invite you or put you up as a guest panelist, hopefully in order, if you want a back and forth, and then we'll try to do that and see how that works, if that works. But the chat and the Q&A are the easiest ways to get the interaction going. All right, so a couple of words about the conference. This is about AI in a post-COVID world. And the reason we wanted to have this conference is that we wanted to discuss about how AI can help in a post-COVID world, and the other way around, as in how being in a post-COVID world helps or changes the trajectory of AI, artificial intelligence, and the way we see it. So this will evolve as we will understand several aspects of these issues as the day goes on, and then hopefully I will, along with some of you, wrap up things at the end of the day. There is a question which says, hello, will the recording be uploaded to a platform? Yes, we will try to put all the recordings available from our website, which is ai.psu.edu. So on behalf of the Center for Socially Responsible Artificial Intelligence, which is a multidisciplinary center supported by over 10 colleges and several institutes here at Penn State, a very warm welcome to every one of you wherever you are in the world. And with that, I will give the stage to my co-host, Amulya Yadav, who will say a few words before we get on to the conference.
Thank you, Prasenjit, and welcome everybody, wherever you're joining from. It's a pleasure to be hosting all of you in this unique one-off event that certainly I'm very proud of being able to organize along with Prasenjit, and hopefully we all take something useful from this. So with that being said, let me move on to sharing my screen so that I can share the agenda with you. And let me know if you don't see my screen. Right, so this is AI in a post-COVID world. And the organizers are Prasenjit and me. I am an assistant professor in the College of Information Science and Technology at Penn State University. And I'm primarily an AI machine learning researcher who works on socially relevant applications. The focus of this conference is COVID-19, right? And COVID-19 is something that has impacted all of our lives in a very visible way. It's changed our lives completely. Had it not been for this disease, we wouldn't be having this conference. We would certainly not be sitting on Zoom. And instead we'd be having some conference on AI or databases in some fancy location somewhere in the world. Last time I checked, these slides I prepared 5 days ago. COVID-19 has led to 151 million infections worldwide, and it's led to 3.2 million deaths. And if you're joining in from the United States, then there might be a perception that the worst has already happened, right? Because vaccination numbers in the US are looking quite good. Almost 50% of the country has, or slightly more than 50% of the country has received at least one dose. Almost 35% of the country is fully vaccinated. But the situation elsewhere is quite dire. So, the blue lines over here are showing the waves of COVID-19 that hit America. And we thought that was bad enough, right? Each wave when it came, we used to think what what can be more worse than this, and then we experienced the second, third wave. And hopefully this is when vaccination numbers, after significant number of vaccination, hopefully we won't see a fourth wave. But in India, which is where I am right now, we are in the midst of this terrible second wave where the entire healthcare system has collapsed. And we're seeing world record numbers of new infections every single day. And this is despite there being an ongoing vaccination program. So clearly the fight against COVID-19 is not quite over. It's 2021, and yet there's a lot of suffering in the world because of this terrible disease, right? And so this conference is about, it's been more than 1 year into this pandemic, which changed our lives, and tackling it has needed the collective will of interdisciplinary experts from a wide variety of disciplines, such as public policymakers, people in the government, medical science experts, and researchers. And amongst this group of interdisciplinary experts, there's also been a significant group of AI researchers who've been at the forefront in the fight against COVID-19. And the aim of this conference, as Prasenjit was mentioning, was that it's to answer three big questions. What has AI research achieved so far? And what can it achieve? And how can AI research inform, and has it informed the government COVID response? And we're interpreting governments very broadly. So your government could be any institution which has to come up with some sort of a COVID response plan. So it could be Penn State University, it could be the city government of New York City, and so on, or it could be the federal government of the United States, or any other country, right? And then the third question that we would like to get an answer to by the end of this conference is, how will AI research change in response to this pandemic, both in terms of the kinds of projects that get funded as a result of this pandemic, and the kind of research that people want to do, or the realignment of interests that happened because of this pandemic, right? So we have a very tight schedule, so we'll try to keep on track. We will start off with an initial opening. Our conference is going to be inaugurated by the provost of Penn State University, Dr. Nicholas P. Jones, who will be sharing a short remark, a short set of remarks on Penn State's COVID fight, how Penn State managed its own COVID situation over the last year or so. And then after that, we will have two keynote talks. The first talk is by Professor Milind Tambe, who's a Gordon McKay Professor of Computer Science at Harvard University. Followed by that, we will have a keynote with Professor Ruzbe Sadekian, who is a professor, an associate professor at the Harrisburg University of Science and Technology. After these two keynotes, we will have three interesting panel discussions, and we want these panel discussions to be as interactive as possible. So really, even though in all three panel discussions, there'll be a short opening statement made by each of the panelists. After that, we will have approximately 1 hour or 50 minutes of Q&A, where we expect you, the attendees, to ask as many questions as possible, right? And so any questions that you ask, we'll be happy to take them to the panelists. And get all your questions answered. So it'll be a discussion. The first panel is going to be on understanding what's happened so far. So AI approaches to COVID-19 that have already been put in place. That is what the first set of panelists will be talking about. The second set of panelists will be talking about how has AI been used at different levels of government to inform the COVID-19 response, and how can you get synergies between AI, the development of AI, and the response of government to COVID-19. And then finally, but equally importantly, we will have a panel discussion on in which we'll try to understand with an excellent set of panelists how the funding landscape, the research funding landscape for AI research has changed post-COVID-19.